Well, welcome, everybody. Sorry for we've had some technical difficulties, but we're here now, and we're so grateful to be here tonight. My name is Leslie Montgomery, and you are tuned into LKM Kingdom Living, Leslie's Lessons Learned. And tonight we have two beautiful women with us that's going to tell their story about how they have come from the place of doom and gloom to glory. And so let's get started. So even though it's starting out like this, we're gonna have a good time.
I believe it.
And like I said, thank you those that are on and that have joined us. We're so happy to be here tonight with Teresa and her daughter Sydney. Boy, do they have a story to tell us tonight. And I was thinking about how I wanted to do it. And I think I want to start out with Sydney. The reason why I want to start out with Sydney, because Sydney has had a journey, but maybe not. Maybe we want to start with Teresa, and then about midway, I want Sydney to tell her story, as much of it as she, could possibly tell us. But how about we start out with finding out what took place, Sydney growing up, being a wonderful child, and then all of a sudden she became a teenager, like a lot of them do. And as she became a teenager, things began to shift. How was that for you, Teresa?
Well, I would say it came about even after her teenage years. Because Sydney, I would say, was a um, obedient child. I didn't have much trouble with her being resistant or rebellion or anything. I kind of laugh. I remember I hope you don't mind. She asked, they have this thing in Jersey where after the prom, they go to the Jersey Shore. And a lot of people, that's just what the kids do. She asked, could she go with her boyfriend and another couple? I'm like, really? You going to ask? That's how honest she was. I'm like, no. So I was like, you would have just been better off saying I'm going with friends and did what you did. But she didn't do that. But that's just an example of how she behaved. There was never any challenge or pushback. Of course, I found out later she held a lot in, um, but didn't have any problems. And then she graduated, I believe. I believe she graduated, and I think she uh, went through what I find a lot of young people go through in their early 20s, and they find out that their parents aren't perfect. um, they find out that they're not, the best things since sliced bread, and they see the human side, and and that's what I'll say. That's what happened with Sydney. And so she started challenging me. And before she started challenging me, I too thought I was all that in the parenting category. I couldn't see that. Um, of course, you're not perfect, but I didn't see that I had done anything for all the pushback that I started to get from Sydney. And so I don't know what was happening. I didn't realize what was happening on her end. I think she wanted to create distance between the two of us and have her own identity and not lean so much on my. Um,
Trying to break through free.
I'm sorry.
trying to break free.
Yeah, not lean so much on my opinion, my direction, or what I thought was all, right, or whatever. Um, and so that's my perspective of how things came about.
So before you go any further, I didn't really say let everybody know that you can see that it's a mommy and me tour. And tonight we're doing like a kind of a debut on Leslie's Lessons Learned of what you can expect from their tour. And on their tour, they are talking about their journey and how they made it through those younger years and how difficult it was and how. I don't even know, Teresa, if you thought that it would turn around, you know.
No, no, we did a little live. I don't know if it was a live, a little recording, encouraging people, that letting people know we were going to be doing the Mommy and Me tour. And I shared that, no, after we went through months, years of um, challenge, and we were pretty much estranged, definitely the emotional or connection, we were estranged. Even though she was present in and out, she was present sometime. Our relationship was definitely severed. And I really didn't know if we would ever reconcile.
Yeah.
And it was so hard. It was so hard when I think back about it. Having that understanding that we might not ever reconcile. But I wanted what was best for her. I wanted her to be well. And so I've shared with her, even if she had to um, call someone else mom, or have someone else in her relationship, um, I would have taken being estranged from her forever, really, if she was well. I had gotten to that point.
Mhm, mhm. And to get to that point, that's a hard place. That's not something you just wake up one day and say, "Look, whatever it takes," because you are the mom. And when we're moms, we try to do everything we can. Is that my side? I hear some noise. We try to do everything we can as parents to be the best parent that we can be. I know even with my children, sometimes I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I didn't do the best job that I could do with you just by things that they experience and things like that. But if we begin to really think about it, and I want to say greetings to everyone that has joined us. Thank you so much for being here tonight with us. And Sydney, you know, okay, so before Sydney come, Teresa, you had to let her make a departure from your house. You had to kick her out.
Yeah, the time came.
And but what brought it to that point that you was like, this is not gonna work.
Uh, it was a level of disrespect that couldn't be tolerated. I Plus I have a younger daughter, and yeah, it had gotten physical one day.
Mm,
One day it had gotten physical, and I would say that was the darkest darkest day for everybody, for everybody.
yeah.
Um, but I just couldn't have her. Sydney, she'll share her story, but she was pretty far from God, I'll say, at that point. Um,
Yeah.
and so I just had to make a choice for the safety of everyone. And
Hmm.
it was a hard decision. And I kept the bar pretty low for her to come back.
But she wasn't gone that long.
She can say how long it was. I think it might have been 6 or 7 weeks, was it?
I ain't counting weeks. Dang.
Or 3. I don't know. It
it was like almost 3 months.
so yeah, it that was a tough time. But my bar was she had to apologize. That was it.
Wow.
And that was it. Her dad, thank God for her dad. He he would let her in the house so she could wash her clothes, do other things. He I'm glad that at the time she was only had strong feelings against me and not her father, because I believe that was a lifeline for her and for our relationship. And I'm just now thinking about that and acknowledging that right now. But yeah, I just wanted her to apologize, because Lord knows I wanted her to be back, because I know she'll share. She wasn't in a good place. So I'll just leave it there. I don't want to say everything.
So Miss Sydney, we're so glad that you're here with your beautiful self today. And you have a side of the story as well. And even though your side and your mom's side now collides together, but you went through some little dark spaces yourself there. Tell us how it started. What started you down the spiraling road?
Um, but you know what? I want to take it back a little bit, just because uh whatever darkness I was in exacerbated things even more.
Mm.
But I'll just say in general that for whatever reason, I stuffed a lot of things when I was growing up. And um either because I didn't feel like I'd be understood or heard, or I would get in trouble for talking back or whatever. So I just kind of kept it to myself, just avoiding confrontation and all that. And it's not like everything was bad. You know what I'm saying? I did have a good childhood, and you know, my parents were still good parents. They were just things that were like, you know, not good too. So I would say um my mom having a tendency of being like a helicopter mom and stuff like that. Um really, really like was like oil and water, with the fact that like I still wanted some version of freedom or agency to do certain things. Um and so it was kind of like that feeling of like suppression and sometimes almost like boundary stepping, where it's like, okay, like I'm getting older now. I should be able to make this kind of decision without that type of input or whatever. And I don't want to just make it about that. There's more to it than even what I'm saying, but I'm just trying to summarize that, there was kind of a buildup, and um I would say what started, and I just accepted things over time. I just accepted however it was. And because we still had a decent relationship, I still would go to my mom for stuff and things of that nature. I just didn't quite feel as independent as I feel like I probably could have, should have, would have been, whatever. Um, and this is more of like a overarching thing. Um, so as I got older, like I said, I just got used to things being the way that they were. And I didn't think anybody noticed this stuff besides me and the people in the household, right? Um, So 2016, I think one of my best friends at the time, she had like had a whole sit down with me in a restaurant to tell me about my mom. She wanted to have a conversation with me about my mom, and I thought that that was interesting because they hadn't been around each other a whole lot. Um, I mean enough, but it's not like we grew up together or something like that. Um, but she was kind of just basically going on about uh the stuff that she noticed about my mom that was basically mirroring what I was just saying, and basically what she was basically saying was that, like your mom's stunting your growth. That's kind of like as a woman and stuff like that. That's basically what she was saying to me. That's like the overarching thing out of all the stuff she said. Um and then she called her a narcissist, which, I I don't think she's a narcissist. I think that was a very loaded label for probably characteristics that she had added up on her own. But the way I felt when she told me that was like, whoa, like I didn't know. Like, first of all, the narcissist thing did throw me off at first, so I was just kind of like, okay, I don't know about that. But everything else, it was like, so I'm not the only one that's noticing this. Like, she ain't really been around like that, like how some of my other friends have, and she's noticing this stuff. It was almost like whatever I thought was like just within the house was like exposed in that moment. And I was like, wow, okay. Um, this is interesting. So then that led me to want to start unpacking some of the things that I had held inside. And um at that time I wasn't necessarily in the dark place at that time, but it just kind of happened because I started how do I say this? I was in my mind a lot, contemplating, trying to figure myself out. And like, okay, so like with her being like that, is that why I'm like this? Is that why this is this and that? So it was kind of like me struggling with what was true, what was not, what's my real identity versus what's made up from like, influences from my parents and stuff like that. So and I was 25 at the time. So I don't know if that's like a transitional point for adults, when it comes to that type of thing, like their identity and whatnot. I can't speak for everybody, but for me, that's what it was all about. So I was very much in my head, and then I got curious and I started looking up the narcissist thing. And for whatever reason, sometimes when you look up stuff, all of a sudden everything makes sense. Like, oh yeah, these characteristics. Like, yeah, I can see that. I can see that everything's adding up, you know. And um and I had a thing with feeling like I was, oh god, what's the word? In infantilized or whatever. And I don't know what that really means. So I don't know if there's like a perverted version of that. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, like where I kind of get where I felt like I was like stunted in growth just because I wasn't allowed to actually like be, fully
I'm grown. I want to do what I want to do.
yeah, and I mean it makes sense. Like by the time you're an actual adult, like it should be some things where you're able to do that as you're getting older. So even though I think some of what she was saying was based on her own experiences and some stuff was false, there was some truth in that. You know what I mean? That I'm just allow it to be what it is because it is that. I'm just not saying that it's like that now. I'm just saying that's how it was, growing up. Now, I didn't feel like it was appropriate necessarily when I was like 9. There's certain things 9-year-olds don't need to be doing. But by the time I'm like 17, 18, 20, like certain stuff is just like, okay, yeah, like, by now, you ought to be able to kind of have that kind of autonomy and stuff like that. Without a lot of extra input and whatever. So without me going on and on and on, I did have another piece to this where I was starting to creep into New Age and kind of playing around with witchcraft, and that's kind of where some of that more darker stuff came from. There was some stuff going on in my life that was traumatizing as well. And because my friend who sat me down also didn't like my mom, it kind of, I'm not blaming this all on my friend. I'm not doing that. Because she just brought up issues that she triggered something in me that was stuff that I already like felt, and then had her own stuff about that. So, but because of that, and because we were friends at the time, um, and because of all the dark stuff I was dealing with, it just exacerbated it more and more and more and more and more, to where now I have all this venom for my mom. And it probably was already there. It just got worse. You know what I'm saying? Um, so like I said, I'm not gonna blame it all on, the friend that I had at the time.
Well, your
Um,
friends will trip you out,
yeah,
especially at that age. Evidently, there were some things that she wanted y'all to do, and your mom stopped it. And she didn't like the way that your mom handled things. I too, I never even heard of the term helicopter mom till I came to 1212. And Alicia was talking, I said, "Well, what's a helicopter mom? I never heard of that." And when I looked it up and found, I said, "Oh, that's me." So I had to start checking myself, even still today, because we're always a mother. We always want to protect. We always want to cover. And when you're the child, you don't always see it that way. You see it as control. So that's what you saw. You thought there was control, and you was fighting against that, so much. So now you go out here, you get involved, and when you get involved, you get to a place that you start tapping into other things, and you open yourself up. Now you open yourself up to witchcraft, and you dibble dabbling in that. But you didn't know at the same time that just as fast as it started, it was going to end. Why? Because you
Can I
have the
say something?
covering of the Father,
Oh.
over you. You wanted to say something, Teresa?
Yeah, I wanted to say um, something that I say often, and it is that two things can be true at the same time, and that of course I'm not saying I was a narcissist, but
yeah.
yes, my um, I'm laughing. I'll never forget. I said something to Sydney. It seemed like she was throwing back that you're a therapist in my face. I said something and she said, "Well, that's not very trauma informed." I was like, "Oh my god." I'm like, "Oh my goodness." But anyway, two things can be true. We do love them, right? We love them and we want the best for them. And at the same time, we can be controlling and overbearing beyond,
Oh
you
yeah,
know, and want to mother beyond the way we should be.
because we don't want
Like
to let go.
we don't want to let go. And so I will say my ability to humble myself and listen and be able to listen to her and hear her. Of course, this was not during in the beginning. I didn't want to hear nothing she had to say,
Right.
quite frankly. Not a thing. But I was somehow, some way, I guess through the pain and through God speaking to my heart, I was able to listen um and acknowledge that okay, maybe I did hover, maybe, and it's a ton of reasons for that. Um which I will probably get into during our theories,
Conversation.
our theories and everything. Yeah, but I had to admit that, some of what she was saying, or I'll dare say a lot of what she was saying is true. And I had to acknowledge that. And I think, and be able to repent to
Right.
God, apologize, and be open. You know, that didn't mean I let her um act any kind of way or
No.
be any kind of way. No,
Yeah.
but I was open to hearing her. You know.
Yeah. You think about it. Even those things happen. They are sobering moments for us as parents. That's
Mhm.
what happens. They're
Yeah.
sobering moments. So while the child is going through what the child we're going through with the child, yeah, the spirit is steady talking to us,
Mm.
telling us, wake up. You got to do things different. And went through the process of doing things different. We're changing just as much as they're changing,
Yes.
you know. So it seems like um, we can be stubborn in the beginning because we're still that parent, and then all of a sudden there's a heart softening of the heart that comes to help us begin to respond differently than the way we respond. See, when they're children, it's our responsibility to grow them. When they're adults, it's our responsibility to, and I say it this way, to mentor. We'll always be a mentor, but there's a difference. When you're a child, you're under my jurisdiction in so many words. Once you become an adult, only thing I can do is encourage you and get find ways to help you see things differently, but I can't make you do anything,
Mm.
you know. But that's still a process. It's still we have to shift from that to this, from you being my daughter, my child, or my son, to being an adult and still my daughter, my child, my son, you know. So we're both learning at the same time. We're both growing at the same time. And the
Mm.
shift, if we don't recognize that there's a shift that has to be made, then you have a lot of colliding. You got a lot of things that happen and take place until you realize it. So then you got this also, and I'm gonna be quiet. You have two people, and it might not be your case, that are alike. You got a mother and a daughter that's alike, or a mother and a son that's alike. So there's a lot of colliding that's going on there. Then you have those that are just, being a helicopter mom, there is a lot of more controlling. And one of the things that I read was that when you look it up, it talks more about the Oriental being that way. But
Mm.
there's a lot of the tendencies of it that we pick up because we're used to being in authority. So now we go from being in authority to being a mentor, to being a one to help coach you along. So there's a process that everybody goes through in this growing up way.
Mhm.
We have to let go. We have to learn how to let go. And we have to learn how to stay letting go, not picking it back up again. So back to Sydney, you were saying you were in a dark place and you had you started tapping into the witchcraft and things like that. And then what took place? How long were you in that? What did that do for you?
I was in it for a while. Pretty much
And let
I
me
would
say this let me ask you this question.
uh,
Were you back in your mom's house while you were still in it?
yeah, I didn't start there. I was living with some friends of mine at the time, and I started there like 2017. Um and continued up until when I came back, which was a year later. And I continued until 2020. So it was at least a good 3 years, I guess, of that. Yeah.
So what took place after that? What?
Okay. Right. Yeah. So the brunt of a lot of this happened when I moved back home. So I moved back. I was working in New York and got let go. And at that point I had not been in that great of a place with my friends either. So I'm like, well, I done got let go from this job. I'm about to just go home. You know what I mean? Let them know, I can't help but, I'm, yeah. So anyways, I moved back
So you
home.
used to live in New York.
No, I
No.
just worked there. I
Okay.
was living in North Jersey for a while,
Okay.
and I ended up working up there a lot. But I was just living in North Jersey and commuting. But so when I came back home in 2018, I felt like I hit rock bottom, and so I was just stuck with my head and all the crap I was doing at the time, and feeling some kind of way about myself. So over time, I had a lot of bitterness, and I don't know if vitriol is the right word. Maybe not that deep, but I had a lot of
Anger.
really, yeah, I had a lot of anger and bitterness in my heart towards my mom. So every interaction, it was like, whatever. And she was trying to be, she was like trying to connect and stuff like that. And I guess sending me stuff and things of that nature. Being her, nice, sweet, encouraging self. Just trying to get to me through like love and kindness. And it wasn't working because I was already over it. I'll never forget one time. I told her, her trying to do all that was like putting stickers on bullet wounds, and because of how I felt. It sounds really dramatic, and it was, but at the same time, that's how I felt. Like we had some deeper things to discuss than what was happening, and we did try to talk. I think she was trying to be a little bit more patient, but then it just turned into us going back and forth a lot. Fast forward to later on that year, 2018. Um, Stuff was just the tension was very high between us, and uh, a little back and forth that we had over some oranges turned into a physical altercation. I'll never forget it either because I was, you
Wait,
know,
what about the oranges? Tell us about that.
so I was buying fruit, a lot of fruit because I was like this alkaline. I was being an alkaline vegan and fasting a lot, so I was eating a lot of fruit at the time, and I wasn't fasting then, but I was just eating a bunch of fruit on top of other stuff. So there was some oranges in the house, some cuties or whatever, little clementine thingies, and I started taking some in the kitchen, and I could feel my mom's eyes on me from across the room because I took maybe like two of them, and I started to feel her eyes on me. So I kind of lost track of how many I was taking at that point. And I think I might have took like 5 of them because I just got distracted. I started picking 1, 2. Once I took the second one, I started feeling her eyes on me. I got distracted and just started autopilot taking oranges. So I took like 5 of them, and she's like, "Save some for the rest of us." And then I went off because I'm just like, "Y'all, like y'all got all the food to eat. I'm the one that's eating the fruit, blah blah blah, whatever." And then my sister was like, "I'm tired of this. I'm tired of you disrespecting mom and blah 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 blah." Then I stepped up to her and started cussing her out, and we cussing at each other and all that. And then I pushed her, and then my mom comes out of nowhere, hits me in the back of the head, and then there was a pause, and I went charged towards her and hit her, and then somehow my sister came in and they got me on the ground, and I ripped my mom's wig off, and then like there was this. I'm sorry. It
All the drama.
was terrible.
What
It
did
was.
Dad say?
He was man. He came over there like, "What the heck are y'all doing?" And then like we're like, all right. And then he like, all right, like half, like what is happening right now? Like I don't think he had a half smirk on his face, but I don't he wasn't pleased. I just don't think he was like, what is happening? Why they all over each other? And then broke it up. And then it was all this kind of yelling, me and Temple yelling, cussing. It was just terrible. My mom still hit me in my head while I'm talking. It was just like
Well,
a mess.
That was such a
Then I got kicked out.
spiritual, yeah. That moment was, I don't know if you remember, but
Mhm.
I know I was on top of her and landed one. And you kind of smiled. And you probably, I don't know if you remembered it or not.
I do.
She remembers. But for me,
That was all.
that was the devil saying, "Gotcha, got you." Because here you are on. It was like, "Got you," and at that moment froze me. I'll never forget it. So yeah.
Yeah, so you in my house.
Got you. And he had me for in that moment. But you know, he didn't win because here we are today.
Amen.
Yeah, getting the last laugh.
So
Mm.
when you think about those things that you've gone through, what was it like when you two started coming together? What was it like when you actually started seeing the turnaround? Was it instant? Was it a period of time? What was that like? Just and were you afraid? I don't even know if afraid is the word I should use. When you started feeling the change, how did it make you feel? Were you skeptical or it just y'all just kept flowing with it? I don't know if I'm making sense.
I'll go first. I don't know how long it was from the time that I got a word from God because I'll be honest, I didn't know, I didn't know if we would ever reconcile, but I also didn't know if she would make it out of this alive because I was going to ensure I made it out alive in my mind.
Yeah, yeah. You're not gonna have the last say.
But I got a word. I went to a women's conference and I shared it with her later. I got a word. I got a word. I got a word. She called the prophet. She called women up whose children who were estranged from their children.
Wayward children.
Yes, who were not that specifically. Yeah, there was a break, you know. Even though she was in the house at the time when I got this word, um, she just shared a testimony and she was like, when God drops it on me like this is what happened. When I got that testimony, I held on to that word and I knew that God was gonna I'm getting ready to say heal my marriage, like Alicia says. I knew God was gonna heal our relationship. I knew she was coming back. Coming back. Her body was there, but I knew she was coming back at that point.
Didn't the lady give you a word, or is that what you just said?
Yeah, she gave it was an altar call, but it was a general, it was a word for everybody who came up there. And I grabbed a hold to it. And I held on to that. And so I had you know, Sydney one day she was like, like I'm gonna be off, I'm gonna have my own family. Like I'm here now because I have to be, but I'm gonna be out. I said, I'll be here. Cause at that point I had
good. I would have been bye. Then I
that
would have
might have
felt
been
bad.
I think that was in November of, I don't know. I don't know when it was. I don't know how long it was, but I held on to that word. So when she would come back, whenever she was ready, I was ready. God had already dealt with me.
You.
And I had, he had already dealt with me. dealt with me. I had to forgive myself, and not just give in to all of her nonsense, because yeah,
Right.
there was some truth, like I said, but the devil really took that and ran with it,
Yeah.
So I was ready when she came back, and it kind of
You.
happened instantly. So Sydney can share what was going on with her before she came, because she had moved out again.
Oh. See, I never heard that part,
She had
Sydney.
moved out again
Yeah,
for
yeah.
some months, and then when she came back, that's when the healing had taken place. Even though, of course, there was, we had to grow in it, but that was the healing when she came back.
Yeah. Yeah, so after the altercation, I got kicked out. Uh she did give me grace though. She gave me a couple of days to get myself together. And I did. And so I was sorry, I'm looking at the comments.
That's my daughter.
I see.
You're right.
Oh, shoot.
Let me help you pack. It ain't a problem.
I was caught up in my pride.
Yeah.
Heavy because I wasn't trying to apologize. I was steady living out of my car for I don't know how long until you know I didn't even get fully there. It was kind of like I was okay with just uh being out of the house and figuring it out from where I was at because I had been unemployed at the time and all that. So I was like another rock bottom. My relationship with my friends was basically very bad. They knew I was homeless and, I wasn't looking for them to offer nothing because they didn't owe me nothing. But the fact that they knew and, nobody like said anything about it was kind of like okay, like yeah, I'm in a sticky situation. I done ruined that. This happened with my mom.
With the
You know,
prodigal daughter.
yeah, the prodigal daughter for real. I'm about to make that my profile name. But anyway, yeah, so I got to a place where when I finally got a full-time job, I landed a job, and at that point I was like, okay, you know what? I didn't have to let it go physical. We could have so that I apologized for that part. I didn't apologize for the fact that we was at odds. It was more like, well, I didn't have to hit her. It didn't have to go physical. So, you know, it didn't have to go that far like that. It didn't have to do that. We could have argued and left it at that. We could have talked it out. So that was it. So I was still like,
I'll tell you exactly what you said. She said,
Oh, Mom.
I apologize, but I don't forgive you. I ain't there yet.
Oh, you left that part out, Sydney.
dang, I forgot I said it like that.
He sure did. I was like, it's okay. Like I said, the bar was low.
Yeah.
Ain't want her out there.
So, all right, well, there you go. I'm back in the house, but I had a job at least, so I wasn't too bad off. And then some months keep going by, and at that point, we were just coexisting because at that point, I was like, you know what, this is how I put it. Like I was acting from like my lower self, and I can be here and be respectful, but we don't have to do nothing. We could just coexist. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I was for months. And then I later, this was like 2020, February of 2020. I met this lady who just so happened to be a witch, and then she turned into kind of like a bit of a mother figure for me. And so there was one night where she was supposed to do some kind of work on me or whatever, and because she was saying I needed deliverance, I need, darkness cannot drive out darkness. I will say that. So anywho, but I believe that this woman
Darkness don't want to drive out darkness.
Yeah, right. They're part of the same kingdom. So anywho, but at the time, because I was susceptible to that, I went to her house for that, and then I stayed way too late. It got real late. She offered like, "Oh, you could just spend the night, whatever." And then at that point, I kept going over there and got into a habit of staying there. And then I went from bringing a couple of clothes to then she taking me to Goodwill to buy me a whole new closet worth of clothes. I could live with her, and then it turned into me living with her. So I was living with her for a while, getting deeper into the craft or whatever, because she was, into that stuff. Got it into Palo Mayombe at one point. And after that, a bunch of other stuff started happening, and then she wanted to kick me out. She told me, she like, "You unruly. You like bought experience over borrowed experience." And I was like, "The heck does that mean?" She like, "You just be doing stuff. You don't take direction from other people. You rather just go through it." So her calling me unruly and that I like, bought experience. Like I'm over here just paying for all the crap I'm going through versus just using wisdom.
She was saying
And
you was stubborn.
she was saying I was bringing too much trouble to her house. Like there was just too much spiritual crap going on. Cause apparently, you know, I was told that some people I knew was doing witchcraft on me and that was bringing crap to the house. It was all kind of mess going on. I'm pretty sure it wasn't just me, but it's just like, yeah, because she had somebody who was doing that type of stuff towards her in that whole world. Anyway, that can happen a lot. But anyway,
But you have to also, it was the spirit of Yahweh that was in your mom that that enemy did not like, and that enemy didn't realize or recognize that the power of the spirit of God that was in your mother was more powerful than what the enemy thought that he had on you. And when that happens, then there's an anger that comes, and then there's disruption that comes because they can't do what they want to do
what
in
they
you
really want to do,
with
yeah.
you. And that's what happened. They were trying to get you to be what they wanted you to be, and it wasn't working.
That makes a lot of sense because it got turned up after I did a ritual where I got it's called being scratched, and it yeah, I know they did all they was sacrificing birds and whatnot, and then they was pouring chicken blood on me, and then I got cut. Well, I mean, but it's for real. Yeah, they took a razor. I was blindfolded the whole time, but they was cutting me here,
Oh, they
and
was doing a ritual.
yeah, I had agreed to it because it was supposed to give me some type of covering. Um,
You came in agreement with the
Yeah.
enemy.
During all that time,
but like you said,
you would call me. You would call me like, how do I don't know, ward away evil spirits or whatever. And then I would start talking about a relationship, and she didn't want to hear it. But
oh, that must have been some other time.
this must be my helicoptery or part of me that's getting ready to come out. And yeah, just get to that day in May when you came home.
She's itching for me to land the plane. All right, so all right, so I was bringing that part up, Miss Leslie, because you had said that the enemy was upset. Yes, because even though I had did that, it didn't matter. One of the ladies who was with us and who was around, she was a Christian, and she was saying that whatever I did was null and void. She just kept telling me that the getting scratched and all the other. It was like for nothing. It was like null and void. So, because of probably my mom's prayers, the will of God, all that. You know what I mean? And I mean,
And
after
she
that,
wasn't praying by herself. She had her friends, I'm sure.
yeah, I was
interceding.
covered. They was mad because I fell down the stairs the day after. All kind of crap was going. Waking up
Rebellious.
on my body, all kind of visions and stuff. I feel like I was losing my mind. I'm like, whoa, what is happening? It was bad. And so by the time the woman was tired of me living there, because it was too much stuff happening, I think she called my parents to let them know she was sending me back. And then that's when they said that they would take me back. That they would not like anybody needed necessarily permission. Well, whatever. I don't want to sound no kind of way. All I'm saying is that like she was just informing them that I was coming back home, and they were like, "Okay, okay." And I can't remember when exactly this happened, but it might have been. I just know that this was within a 2-day period before I came home. I don't know if you remember anything, Mom, but and at one point I was in my room doing one last ritual thing. So what they told me was that I had gone too far. I did too much, that the light and dark were in agreement about me and I was going to die in 2 weeks. And the way that I needed to get out of it was to write down every single bad thing that I ever did. It was like it's like I had to confess all of my sins that I had ever done. Like, I can't think of everything. So I'm writing on this partridge paper forever. And I go take a break to use the bathroom, come back, and I know this was him. The Holy Spirit tapped me on my shoulder and brought my attention to the book. I mean, to the Bible, and you know, motion for me to read it. And I was like, I paused and I was like, you know what? Okay, let me see what this thing got to say. That's what I said to myself. So I pick it up. I start reading the first. I didn't know what to go to, so I'm like, let me just go to the first page. I see this statement about being a sinner and how you need to be forgiven and all these other things. So it was ministered to me in that moment, and I started to feel the love of God, and I was like, wow, like, and I'm like, dang God, like even after all of this, you still take me back. Like that's what I said, and then all I felt was this overwhelming love from God. And in that moment, I seen the sinner's prayer part, and so I read it, and then I signed it because they had a little lines to be like, okay, your name, date, and the time. I didn't have my phone because she took my phone, the lady I was living with. So I didn't know what time it was. I just knew it was in the morning. So I just put my name and the date. And at that point, I felt free. Something lifted off of me.
Won't he do it?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And literally, like the next day, I came home and somewhere in between that time that I had that moment and before I came home, that's when she called my parents and they said that they would take me back. And it was something in me just felt like, wow, okay, you know what I'm saying? And so I finally came home, and it happened to be on Mother's Day, the day I came home.
So
And at that
he was
point,
allowing you to start having compassion and love. So he was breaking down all that anger, breaking down all those things that had you bound. And really, you got to go back to childhood, being in school, being, bullied. All that plays a part in what takes place in our lives. And the enemy will make you see your parents in a different way. The enemy will make you see your parents as the enemy, and we're not. So you saw your mom as the enemy, and I'm sure when you was picking up them tangerines or whatever it was, you probably was like, "What you looking at me like that for?" That type of thing. But I thank you. So now, and we're gonna end with this. I know you have something you want to say, Teresa, because as Sister Michelle was saying, it's the results of a blessing to have a helicopter praying mom.
Mhm.
And we
Oh,
know that your mom is a praying mom, even today, that she's still a praying mom. And you better be so grateful, not better.
Oh yeah,
Be
I was grateful.
grateful,
Been still grateful.
grateful that the Father gave you a mother. The Father knew you would go through these things, and
mm,
He gave you someone that was going to be able to pray on your behalf while you were going through, that you would
mm,
come to the other side. Now, look, your mom, she was praying and believing, but she didn't know how it was going to happen. You were out there thinking you had it going on your way, and you didn't know how it was going to happen, but the Father knew the whole time what He
mm.
was doing and how it was going to happen. Now you're back in the house. There's harmony in your home. You know, nobody's fighting against each other. You all are together, working together, and you have a great relationship. You
And I
guys have a
apologized. I owned up to the crap I did. I apologize that I have to say this. When I came home, I was completely humbled by God. You know, and like my mom said, yes, two things could be true at the same time, but I was a mess. So I apologize to everybody. I apologize to my mom, my father, my sister. Thank them for letting me back in, and thanking her as well as everybody else I came across after that for every prayer that they prayed, even if it was just one. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Amen.
So
God is so good. God,
isn't He? Go
yeah,
ahead, Mom.
he
Oh, Jesus.
he let me know, like, the devil never had you. You was just on a tour. So you could bring back information and use it in your ministry that has yet to be birthed. So he never had you. He never had you. I just want to say that. And I'm so grateful to God. Yes, it was Mother's Day. It was the best Mother's Day. At least the two before that were hell because it seemed as if she was saying, you're not going to get all this glory on Mother's Day because you don't deserve it.
Mm.
It was like she was hell bent on us having an argument. And I would say to myself, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to get caught up. And
It was good. I
sure
was
enough,
trying to swing.
sure enough, something would set me off. But God is God is good and He's unmatched. So
No match. He's no match.
yeah.
So
So grateful that we're here. And
yes, thank you. And yeah,
you know,
to be to
I'm-
this point that you're in, yes. Yeah. Mm.
so the tour is about all the stories along the way. We go back and visit those times where I might have been overbearing or helicoptering and how she might have held it in and took it in. And then, what we can learn from it, going back, what we have
Yes.
learned from it. But my hope, just as I have confidence after I received that um, prophecy and I knew that she was coming back, um, to God, really,
Yeah.
to God, because Sydney, she's been spiritual all her life. Um, you know, she received the baptism of the Holy Spirit when she was 5 or 6 years old. So the enemy wanted her, and she got great work, but he couldn't have her. He can't touch her. And I forgot what I was getting. Oh, just like I, just like I had the confidence that she was coming. God gave me that confidence for other people too.
Right.
If somebody comes to me and they're having, God, that's the part that God gave me. Um, and then I can help young people understand that I know your mother getting on your nerves. I know.
Oh, you talking about the
but she love you. Oh, yeah. So, but I just thank God. I'm just grateful.
Yeah.
I'm grateful.
So when the tour will continue, what are you guys? What's your next step? Where you go from here? When's the next time we can see you and hear more of your story? Yeah, I'm putting
Well,
you on the spot.
for right now, we'll have a bit of a fun thing, a fun
Okay.
video we'll put out where we'll do like uh, a mother-daughter game. We get to ask questions about each other and stuff like that. So it'll be like a real, nice, lighthearted video. We
Love
can
it.
probably get to know us a little bit better. And following that, um, will be the launch of the Mommy and Me Tour YouTube channel, which is, basically, I guess I would say more like a story time podcast because we're
Okay.
going to be telling different stories. Like you were mentioning about how all these things that the enemy uses, like stuff from your past, when you were a kid and stuff like that. So, like my mom said, we will be telling stories. I'll be telling stories from like when I was, younger all the way up until, adulthood where we had that breakthrough. And everything won't be bad. I have really good memories with my mom, even like she said, with me being baptized, in the Holy Spirit. That's a part of one of the stories I want to share because I also want to kind of paint the full picture of how God has always been been there, in the fibers of our story, um, in our lives and stuff. So, um, it'll be, really great. Transformational, I believe, because it's not just for us, it's for everybody else. And this channel was not strictly just for mothers and daughters. This is for any parent child dynamic,
Okay.
um, guardian child dynamic, however it is, in your family or family like dynamics. It can be fruitful to you either way. Um, so
Stay tuned.
yeah, I was trying to think on whether or not we could post like our
So
channel
when
stuff.
you
So
post it,
we
I'll
have
post
a
it on
Facebook.
my page so everybody will know.
Okay, good. We do
So
have a
we
Facebook.
I know you also have your painting and oh, but is that the Mommy and Me? Or is that different?
It's
Different.
different, but it'll
Oh,
be me
okay.
and my mom.
Oh, okay.
It's called
So
Paint and Breathe, and that'll be in next year, beginning of next year. We really want to do a lot and getting traction moving with our channel first before we start hosting events. But it will be a um meditative paint
or
experience.
yeah,
Yeah, so not so much like a paint and sit, but paint and
right.
breathe. Where you get
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get to have that space with yourself and
yeah.
God and paint. So
Well, listen, thank you, ladies, for being here. I look forward to what you're going to do, where it goes from here. You guys have so much still. This is just bits and pieces. I mean, you have years of stuff that you can talk about, and the thing of it is for the kingdom, is to
Amen.
help others understand that the same God, the same Yahweh that helped you guys will help them, as you said, Teresa, to have hope. So, for those of you that are listening and that you might not have the best relationship with your children, it does not mean it has to end that way.
Amen.
Keep faith, continue to trust Him, thank Him. Once you pray, just thank Him for the change, and just keep looking. It's no difference than someone wanting a boat. Just using this as an illustration, they put it on their refrigerator, and every day they go by, I thank you for my boat. I thank you for my boat. Thank Him for the change in your children's life. that you desire to see and to have. And we're just so thankful that you're here with us tonight. We, any last words, real quick, before we close out? I want to thank both of you for being here and allowing me to host you.
Amen. Oh, I think I want to thank Sydney.
Yeah.
I want to thank Sydney for starting, I would say, this kind of deep conversation and healing going. Because we could have healed on a kind of superficial level. But, you know, I wouldn't say superficial. The healing would have been real. But, you
Different.
know,
Yeah.
it would have been real. But we continue to this day because she is honest about things, how she felt, and the issues that she has. So we are able to revisit them and go deep. Um, and so I just thank you for this. And like I don't like sharing as much as she does. I'll be honest. I'm the one that's like, we don't have to say all of that. But I thank her for her transparency because that is part of her healing. And thank you for having us. And yes, just hold on to the word of God and the promises that he made to you concerning your children, however old or young they are.
Yeah, that's true. And
Mm.
Sydney, we are so proud of you. We are so proud of you for making the change. We're proud of you for this is your vision. You know, this is your vision and something that you wanted to do, and we're just looking forward for the rest of it. We know that it's going to be powerful, amazing, and as things unfold and continue to unfold, you're only going to go higher and higher and higher. So I want to say blessings to both of you. Continue doing what you do. Continue to be a light that shines in darkness. I love you guys. I appreciate you.
Love you.
And to everyone else that's come on and taken the time, thank you for being here tonight and have an amazing rest of your evening.